Welcome to my little guitar studio. This is the first video I've ever recorded, so it's a bit nerve-wracking to be sitting in front of a camera. The goal of this video is to help you learn the guitar more joyfully, and I've crafted 5 simple, hopefully relatively simple steps, and some of which are philosophies as well. So as well as having the right physical tools, like the right instrument, the right space, you also need the right mindset for learning as well. I think that's one of the most crucial parts of picking up anything new, because it is a journey, and it's your own journey as well. So you've just got to find a place where it's really easy, where you have as few stumbling blocks as possible. So this video is hopefully going to help you with that. So step number 1, or philosophy number 1, is to play what you enjoy. Don't feel like you have to shoehorn yourself into any specific genres if they don't work for you. I've got a poster in my studio here. It says, "Nothing can teach you everything, but everything can teach you something." And that's a quote I stole from an old teacher of mine. It reminds us that you can get value from every piece of music. You don't have to practice a specific thing to get something from it. Lessons can be learned from the things you really enjoy. And I think ultimately making music is about having fun, it's about connecting with your emotions. And I think it would be time wasted if you didn't do what you enjoyed. So choose songs, tunes, it could be a chord progression or something that just really makes you feel something, that makes you want to progress with the guitar. That currency of inspiration is really, really valuable. You can find that through simply doing the things you love. So this leads me on to point number 2. So what you choose to play might influence the equipment you choose. We've got to keep in mind obviously the kind of music and the tone that we want. So you might really like singer-songwriter pieces or tunes. So you're going to want to go for something that sounds, maybe an acoustic guitar or an electric guitar, for example. The second thing, which beginners tend to overlook, is the physicality of playing as well. A common thing I see beginner students is bringing along steel string acoustic guitars. They have very high tension, which makes pressing the notes, especially in that first position on the guitar, which is often where we start, closest to the head of the guitar. That's where the string tension is really high, and that can really hurt beginners' fingers. What I would suggest in this case is going for an acoustic guitar, but maybe something like a nylon string guitar I've got up just next to me here on the wall. It's not going to have the exact sound of your favourite singer-songwriters, for example, but it's not going to be far off. And actually the trade-off of having something that's easier to play, that isn't super taxing on the body in those early stages, I think is worth it. So in that case, it's finding a middle ground. With an electric guitar, that's okay because the string tension is relatively low, and the gap between the strings and the fingerboard is relatively low as well. So there isn't going to be too much of a physical hurdle with playing the electric guitar. And obviously keeping in mind, how tall you are, how broad are your shoulders, how long are your arms, that's all going to influence the size of the guitar you go for. So it's really important to put some consideration to the material of the strings, the tension of the strings, the size of the guitar, and obviously one of the most important things is the sound that you're going for. That's going to influence your choice of guitar. Step number 3 is be mindful of your expectations. If you can not necessarily expect anything, but accept everything from the beginning of your guitar playing journey, that's going to set you in really good stead. Learning anything is a process. It's not always an easy process. I think if you can go into the learning experience with as few expectations as possible, primarily on yourself and also on the instrument, it's not going to be able to do everything you want straight away, and you're not going to be able to do everything you want straight away. The important thing is that you're aware of your expectations, and I think you actively work to do as well as you can, practice with as much awareness as you can. It's about really enjoying the process primarily, and enjoying the process of learning. The process of learning will guide you in certain directions, and in directions that you might never expect. So just keeping an open mind, being mindful of expectations, we all have them, but it's not letting them dictate your path, dictating your journey, and not holding on to an end result. Tip number 4 is kind of on practice. I'm going to do a full video on this, I think, in the future, because it's a big topic. It's something that deserves more attention. But in brief, for anyone starting their journey with music, is practice little but often. And I say this to my students all the time. It's far better to practice 10 minutes a day than to save it all for one day a week and try and do an hour. The body and the mind is constantly forming new connections when you're learning something new. And the more often you give it the chance to form these new connections, the faster the connections are going to be created. It kind of creates a positive feedback loop as well. So it's the more often you do something, the more significance it has in your life. The more significance it has in your life, the more meaning you give to this thing that you do. The more meaning it has, the more likely you are to do it. So it's this positive feedback loop. Often it's the getting over the hurdle of just sitting down, set your goals really low. Just say, okay, I'm going to sit on the sofa and play one chord. And you get to the sofa and you'll be like, well, I'm already here, so I may as well play another chord. And then before you know it, half an hour's gone by and you've just been practicing a whole tune. And that's a really, really easy way to get over the initial hurdle of just sitting down and practicing. Practice is an act, and all acts form habits. And you might get to the point with practice where a day doesn't feel complete without having sat down to practice. It's become a really ingrained habit, and you've begun to identify with the process of practice. It becomes almost a part of what you do each day, and it can become a real source of enjoyment. People practice for all kinds of reasons. You might practice for a concert. You might practice because you just really like the alone time with your instrument. You might practice because you want to master a certain technique or get better at a certain tune. There's a whole host of reasons for sitting down with your instrument. So my final tip, I suppose, I need to find a better word than tip. The final thing I'm going to say is find a mentor. And this is quite common advice in self-improvement videos. Find someone who has the experience that you don't necessarily have. Your initial instinct might be to go with the best guitarist or try and seek advice from the best musicians. And this is fine, this is really good, and this can be a really great way to stay motivated and inspired. I think first and foremost, if you're starting out or you're in those early stages of learning an instrument or the guitar, is to find a teacher. The difference between teachers and players is that teachers are invested in helping you grow, It's their job and it's their passion. It's something they are emotionally and often financially invested in. It's a vocation for a lot of teachers. It's something they genuinely enjoy doing. And I'm sure, we've all had those one or two teachers that, really might have steered the direction of your life. You might not have taken that biology exam had you not had an amazing biology teacher. I know I had a few amazing history teachers in school and sixth form college. I didn't end up doing history, but I carried on doing history till my A-levels because I really enjoyed history because my teachers made it really enjoyable. And it's the same with the guitar. You want to find a teacher who makes it enjoyable. There's lots of ways of learning nowadays. You can come here on YouTube and seek out advice. There's lots of great teachers on YouTube. The only limitation with looking at materials, let's say online courses, this is separate from having someone who you do a video call with, is the direction of information is one directional. I am funneling information in your direction. I don't know about you. I don't know what you're struggling with particularly, what music you really love. So that's the only limitation with it. Obviously, learning online and going on YouTube is a really affordable way to learn, and if that's the only way you can learn, do that by all means. If you do have the means to invest in an in-person teacher or a one-to-one teacher, that can be really, really invaluable, and it's a really good investment. The reason being is the transfer of information is flowing in both ways. When looking for an in-person teacher, there are a few things to think about. Is you want someone who's really empathetic. They don't have to be a good player. The most important thing with the teacher is they know how to teach. I've certainly learned, and I'm still learning how to teach. It takes a long time, and there's no right way to teach because every student is different, but they have to love seeing you grow. The process of learning isn't about the teacher, it's always about the student. Learning is an experience, it's a journey. And if you can find a mentor that's inspiring and nurturing, it's just going to make that journey all the more enjoyable, all the more fun and enriching. Your lessons shouldn't feel prescriptive. They're not there to shape you. They're there to allow you to find your own way with music. The word education comes from the Latin word educare, which means to lead out or bring forth. So if you can look for a mentor that is, genuinely invested in you becoming the best musician or the best guitarist that you can be, find someone who's invested in helping you find those things that bring you joy. So those are my, 5 tips it was in the end. Still got to find a new word for that. I hope that was okay. I did my best. It's my first video, so hopefully some more to come. As I said earlier, I'm going to do some more on practice, guitar stretches, some left hand stretches, aspects of performance, being a healthy musician, simple riffs and chord progressions that can help you along your way. So I really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to be notified of more videos in the future, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for listening to my video.